All right, so next we're going to transition to college football. With bowl season coming up, we're going to start with the Peach Bowl. Michigan, Florida. Michigan, 7.5 point favorites to open up. I think Michigan with Jim Harbaugh, they have something to prove here after they got blasted at Ohio State. What are your thoughts?
Go ahead, Abby.
Well, for those out there who doesn't know, I'm a huge Florida fan, diehard Florida fan. Always be a Florida fan. I bleed blue and orange, and I despise Michigan football. One because of people like Ryan Zyla, all of my friends as well. So, with that being said, I'm looking forward to this matchup. I know Florida hasn't played too well in the past against Michigan, but I'm not too confident in this year's matchup. And here's why. Dan Mullen is in his first year, okay? He hasn't all his players in that he wanted. So we have to give him like 3 or 4 years, okay? Just like Jim Harbaugh, everyone said, just be patient, be patient. He still hasn't beat Ohio State, but people are still saying, be patient, okay? So we need to give Dan Mullen a little bit of time. Even though Florida went 9-3 this year, their schedule wasn't the best. They had a really good win against LSU, but outside of that, they struggled against teams like South Carolina, where they had to come back 17 points, whatever it was. They struggled against teams like Missouri, the lower level SEC teams. So when I'm thinking of a team like Michigan, who has a very stout defense, even though a couple players are not going to play, I mean, they can replace, I mean, their backups are just as good as, I mean, anything that Florida has. So, and the inconsistent quarterback play for Florida has me intimidated. I personally think that Florida is going to lose by 2 touchdowns. I hope I'm wrong, trust me. But the way it's going, the way it's been playing out all season, if Michigan doesn't win, I think it's a big disappointment on their part.
Well, I'm a big Michigan fan, so my answer can be biased, but a lot of it comes down to Michigan. Rashawn Gary's not going to play. He's going to the draft early, so that hurts their defense. Um, Devin Bush, won the best linebacker of the year award. He might not play. So it just comes down to injuries and stuff. But I mean, Michigan should win on paper. But something you come to find out as a Michigan fan is that when you play people in bowl games, everybody in the world hates Michigan, so you get everybody's best shot. Um, so I think Florida will be played tough. We just beat Florida the year before, kind of ran them off the field in the second half. So Florida players are going to be chippy. They're going to want some revenge. So I really think it's a good matchup. Two really good fan bases. Um, yeah, there's a little pressure on Jim Harbaugh to win after what happened at Ohio State, but overall, big picture, I think in the next couple years, he is going to beat Ohio State, and Michigan's going to get their chance to play in the playoff eventually. So, but a lot of it's just going to come down to it's going to be a battle. I think I would probably take Florida with the spread right now, but I think Michigan will win. But I think it's going to be a tough battle, probably an ugly game, really
It's
defensive battle. Come down to turnovers.
It's going to depend on Felipe Franks. Felipe Franks is, like I said, he's up and down. You don't know what you're gonna get from him. Florida's defense is been very respectable. They keep us in games sometimes. So if Felipe Franks can move the chains, keep Michigan off the field, could be very interesting. But if he hangs in the pocket too long, you know Michigan's coming. You know that blonde hair freak's coming. So he's got to get the ball out quick. Can't turn the ball over, and we just can't have any dumb penalties. No one's sportsman like penalties or nothing stupid like that. Just no one's self-inflicted wounds, and we have to move the chains if we have a chance.
Yeah, make sure you keep Jim Harbaugh off the field and not getting his little taunting penalties for crying. All right, next matchup, Sugar Bowl. You have Texas against Georgia. Georgia minus 11 to open it up. Georgia coming off the loss to Alabama, especially with the questionable play call with the fake punt. What does Georgia have to prove against the Longhorns here?
Kind of see this as we've seen it before with SEC teams that battle to make the playoff and don't make it. I kind of see Texas winning this game just because uh, this bowl game doesn't mean nothing to Georgia. They just lost a hard fought battle game to Bama, and so now really, it's on to next year. What do they have to do to make the playoff next year? So I kind of see Texas with more to prove. They kind of had a better year than people thought, and they're kind of on the verge of maybe making some noise and winning the Big 12 eventually. But so I think Texas has more to prove, and I can just see Georgia kind of laying an egg. But Georgia's the more talented team. They should win, but I kind of have a feeling Texas will win this game just from motivation.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with Zai. If you think from a program standpoint, Texas, they have everything on the line for them. Like, these are the games they need to win to get Texas back to that prestige, that household name, being Texas Longhorns. And they're not quite there yet, but they're getting there. I think Tom Herman's doing a great job. But as we see in the past, just like Zai stated, that SEC teams, especially on the verge of getting to college football playoffs since it started in, 2013, 2014, somewhere in there, that teams that don't get in have a hangover. And how important is this game to Georgia? Is it important to them just as much as it is Texas? I don't believe so. So on paper, Georgia's a better team. They have better players. They're well coached. But I think it means more to Texas. I think the preparation, they're going to be more focused going into this game. So I personally think it's going to be a lot closer game than people think. I definitely have Texas covering the spread. Do they win the game? I don't know. I believe Texas is going to get out to a hot start. I think Georgia's going to come out sleeping. Just because, they didn't get the playoffs. That was their goal all year. But Georgia, I mean, we know they're going to be an elite program. Them and Alabama is going to be battling for years to come. So, but Texas, like, they're on the knocking, like, they want to get to that next tier. And these are games to get those recruits, say, hey, Texas is there. So I would have Texas covering the spread. Do they win the game? I'm not sure.
Get them up. Hook 'em horns. I agree with both of you guys. I think Texas will come out inspired to win this game. Not only will they cover the 11, I think they will win the game. Shockingly, I think they'll win by 2 touchdowns here because, Georgia, like you said, they're going to be still hungover after losing to Alabama. And Tom Herman, again, they're not quite to that prestigious old Texas point of where they used to be, but they're on their way up. Next matchup, Rose Bowl. Washington against the Ohio State University in Urban Meyer's last game. Buckeyes 6.5-point favorites. What do we got on this one?
I think same, it would have been the same scenario as kind of like the Georgia matchup where if anyone thought they should have got in was Ohio State. But however, with Urban Meyer coming out and saying that he's done after this game, never played in Rose Bowl before, I think his players are going to play inspired and they want to win this game for him, not themselves. And I think that's the most dangerous component a team can have, to play for their coach. And when you have that aspect, I think they're going to absolutely annihilate Washington. This could be an ugly game. This could be a game where it's 2 to 3 touchdowns. So I don't think Washington stands a chance, and I think they're going to come in scared because they know Ohio State is coming and coming with full force.
I agree. I mean, I think Ohio State wins by a couple scores. I mean, I think you saw it. Like, I truly believe Michigan and Ohio State were pretty equal teams, but, with Urban kind of saying he was done, Ohio State played really motivated, their best game, and, with this being his last game in Ohio State, and I don't think Washington's that good to begin with, so it's going to be that could be ugly. It could be like 60 to 20 something.
Did Urban come out with he was done before or after the Michigan game?
Well, nothing publicly, but there's no doubt in my mind that he said that in the locker room.
That's a lot of Michigan biasness. So let's give it time.
No doubt in my mind.
You want to say Michigan Ohio State is even right now, and they just got their doors blown off.
As Chase Winovich said, the Ohio State game was a mirage.
That revenge tour came to a quick halt.
We'll see.
Doors getting blown down is the whole building in that game.
We'll see next year.
Yeah, I think the Buckeyes win.
Big Harbaugh was ecstatic when that Urban Meyer news came out.
We're just worried about what we got to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the Buckeyes will beat Washington by almost 40 points. Honest to God. Urban Meyer's last game, I know you're going to hate this, Justin, but Bobby Bowden's last game with Florida State, I'm pretty sure they won that game. When coaches have their last go around.
I don't remember that, Jake.
The team,
I don't remember that.
Well, you're probably, yeah. Anyways, Ohio State, Urban Meyer last game. It's going to be very inspiring. All right, college football playoff time. We'll start with the Cotton Bowl. Notre Dame and Clemson, the 3-2 matchup. Clemson 11.5-point favorites. Where are we going with this?
I don't like the spread. I think 11 points is too much, but I think Clemson wins the game. Probably be probably a defensive game, but Clemson's been there, done that. They have a little bit of confidence, swagger. So in Notre Dame, they've played a lot of close games. Their defense has kind of propelled them. But I like Clemson. I don't know if they'll win by 11 and a half, but I could see them controlling, winning by 7 to 10 points, and they'll move on and get ready to play. Probably Bama because they like to prove that they're just as good and if not better than Bama. So, I'm not going to bet against Dabo and that team and what they got rolling right now.
If you think of everyone in the country right now, it's Alabama and everyone, but Clemson is not far behind Alabama right now. And 11.5 point spread, I think that's pretty realistic. I think Notre Dame is going to give them a game for the first half or maybe the first 3 quarters, but eventually Clemson and their offense will be too much. They have too many weapons, too much speed, too much athleticism. Clemson is going to win by a couple scores.
Yeah, I think that spread is pretty goofy, 11 and a half. Again, it could go either way. Notre Dame could come out and win, or Clemson could come out and absolutely pound them into the dirt, so you never know. I honestly would take Notre Dame to cover the 11 and a half, but I can see Clemson winning by about a touchdown here. Last game, Orange Bowl, Alabama -14 against the team that plays no defense, Oklahoma.
I probably won't even tune into this. It'll be pointless. It'll be a waste of my time. Murray winning the Heisman Trophy was probably even the worst thing that could happen for Oklahoma because that gives even more motivation to Tua and Alabama. This could get out of hand. This could get very ugly. This could be a 3 to 4 touchdown win on Alabama's behalf. I'm not even going to tune in. There's no point. It's going to be Alabama and probably Clemson for another rematch in the championship.
I got to disagree. What's the one thing that gives Nick Saban problems is a mobile quarterback, somebody that can run it, throw it. And Murray, he's so good that they're going to put up points. And so, in Alabama, they got a little controversy right now. Is if Tua comes out and struggles at the beginning of the game, what happens? And we've seen Hurts before in the playoffs that struggled. So that could become really interesting if Tua struggles at the beginning of the game. But I think that Oklahoma's going to score some points, so they're going to keep the game close. Will Alabama win by 14? Wouldn't surprise me, but Oklahoma's going to keep this game more competitive than people think.
Well, when you think of what's gave Nick Saban problems in the past, yes, the mobile quarterback, yes, Johnny Manziel, yes, Deshaun Watson, but those teams had decent defenses. I know Texas A&M's defense in the Johnny Manziel era wasn't as great as maybe a Clemson defense for Deshaun Watson, but Oklahoma's you could throw for 400 yards. Jake, you could rush for 400 yards. Okay, not going to be a game. This is not going to be a game because Oklahoma's defense is a sieve. All right, they absolutely are going to roll out the red carpet and say, Alabama, go ahead and score. So if Oklahoma doesn't convert on about 80% of their offensive possessions, they don't have a chance.
Oklahoma's defense got to listen to that for about over a month, so they're going to be ready to play. They'll play their best game of the year.
It's one thing to know what's coming. It's another thing to stop it.
It's going to be closer than you think. I'm telling you that.
And you can have all the motivation. You can listen to anything you want, but at the end of the day, they're just not as good as Alabama. Yeah, roll Tide. As Stephen A. Smith would say, roll Tide.
Roll Tide. And I think it'll probably be about 59-38. Oklahoma. It's one thing to score points or to stay with Bama, but it's another thing to stay with Bama for 4 quarters of the game. And I think, you could be talking, maybe 45-38 or 45-31 going to the fourth, but Alabama's just got too much for the Sooners. And I don't think Oklahoma can cover. It could be close. Oklahoma showed they can score, but, even against average Big 12 teams or crappy Big 12 teams like Kansas, they give up a lot of points. All right, that'll wrap up our segment on the college football bowls, and next we're going to talk about the overrated coaches in the NFL.